Hello and welcome back to the Midnight Diary channel. My name's Gemma and I'm coming to you as always from my home in Devon. Hello, we are now in the middle of July. It's actually Tuesday the 16th of July, so I'm recording a day earlier than I have been recently. I seem to be recording and uploading on Wednesdays, but hopefully recording today I can upload tomorrow and it'll all be nice and calm and chill. So if you've not visited the channel before, hello, welcome, lovely to meet you. I just come every week and talk about what I've been making. So that's cross stitch, sewing, quilting, crochet, knitting, predominantly knitting to be honest, and share with you the joys, the trials, the tribulations, what goes well, what goes wonky, and yeah, I hope you enjoy that. So there might be a little bit of background noise this evening. It is a lovely warm day. Summer has returned to Devon and I've got the windows thrown open. Although we don't live on a very busy road, there is nevertheless some traffic. So please do just try and ignore that and we'll focus on the fun stuff. So once again, I've actually had to make some podcast notes, which I will now endeavour to find because I've let my diary fall shut. Where are they? Here we go. Yeah, so I've had to make some notes because I've finished things, I've started some things, and I've got so much to share with you. So without any further ado, let's get started with finished objects. I was going to sit and weave in the ends on this, but I feel like that's a little bit of a misrepresentation of me. I'm not one to weave in the ends particularly quickly, and also I didn't want to lose any more of the light. It is the evening time. Robin went to sleep about 7. It's got to be about 7:30 by now. I've wasted half an hour pottering around. Anyway, finished object, as promised last time, is the flax. It's not been blocked, ends have not been woven in, but it's off the needles, all the stitching's done, so I'm done. This is for Wool on the X and I will be delivering it in a couple of weeks when I go to teach my next class. It's the 0 to 6 month size, the worsted size pattern, and I have used Colourlab DK from West Yorkshire Spinners. No, Colourlab Aran from West Yorkshire Spinners, I beg your pardon. I used a 5.5mm needle because when I've knit flaxes before, I've actually found that my gauge is too tight compared to the designer's gauge, and there was one particular one, I don't know if I've got a picture, but if I do I'll pop it up here for you, where you can clearly see on Robin that the yoke portion is too, like the increased section of the yoke is too short and it kind of bunches up around this part of his chest. It clearly doesn't fit properly, and that's down to gauge. So yeah, so I sized up to a 5.5mm needle. The result is it's a bit of a looser gauge than it should be because I've also had to frog it a couple of times and then did the ribbing on the 5.5mm needle as well. Yeah, so I had to rib back a couple of times, did the ribbing on the 5.5mm needle as well, and so the gauge is a little bit longer, a little bit bigger than it should be. The plus side of that though is that I didn't run out of yarn, because I should technically have needed slightly more than one ball of this yarn, and I actually won at Yarn Chicken. And what that means is it's taken fewer rows to get the number of inches than expected, which means I have used less yarn because there's been less knitting. So there we are. Okay, so that is Tin Can Knits Flax worsted weight. So on to works in progress. At the weekend, I took a very long coach journey from I got to the bus station about 7:15, boarded about 20 minutes later, and arrived in Birmingham at 1 p.m. or just before 1:30 because we had a couple of delays because of traffic. And so on the coach, I cast on a new project. And I will add things of value to this, so please don't roll your eyes and switch off just yet. I cast on the flax sweater, but it's the new one. It's the double knitting weight one. They've just released it. I don't know when because I am so out of the loop. I'm on an island on my own somewhere floating around. But when I downloaded the Tin Can Knits app back in June, when I started that flax sweater and taught my knitting top down in the round sweater class at Wool on the X, I noticed they had a DK weight version, and in the end I was thinking about this yarn. So the yarn is yarn that I dyed for my son when he was still a bump. Little grey girl had 2 hanks of undyed DK yarn that she didn't want to use as a base, so wanted to know if I wanted it, just gave it to me out of the goodness of her heart and said, why don't you dye something for the baby? And I thought, okay, yeah, I think I will, that's a nice idea. So I dyed this yarn, and I don't know if I've got any footage here, but I speckled it heavily and essentially created unicorn graffiti style yarn. It looks like a unicorn's just come along and vomited glitter over it and rainbows over everything, and it's really joyous. So I dyed 2 hanks of that, and when I was teaching the class and I saw the Flax DK, a little kind of light bulb went off in my mind. I thought, maybe this could be something I do. And then when it came to preparing to get ready for the coach, because I'd not long been back from Kent, I got back from Kent on the Sunday, worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Literally had Thursday night to get ready and get everything packed. I thought, never mind, let's just do the flax. Let's not reinvent the wheel and hunt for a new pattern. I know what I'm doing. I can get it to the point of going round and round and round and round, and it'll be great coach knitting. Spoiler, didn't actually cast it on until I was in the coach car park. However, I know the pattern pretty much off by heart. So once I'd got the stitch count for DK, the actual pattern repeats for the yoke increases is exactly the same as on the Flax Worsted. So here we go. This is it. My son's Rainbow Unicorn Funfetti Flax. Maybe I'll call it that. Rainbow Unicorn Funfetti Flax. So here we are. I got down to the sleeve separation on the way up. I kept falling asleep on the coach, despite it being like a 6.5, nearly 7 hour coach trip. I did keep falling asleep on the coach and drifting off and waking up like with a very dry mouth, having been slack jawed and just praying I didn't snore and disturb the other passengers. On the way home, however, despite it being a later coach, it left at 6 p.m. and didn't get until 11. I actually was able to knit the whole way, and I knit right down to here, which isn't the full length of the body, but I actually ran out of yarn because I only took 1 cake of my DK yarn with me. I didn't want to, I was being a little bit sensible for me. I normally overpack chronically with projects, but actually I had finished 2 things at the weekend and did most of a jumper, so that's pretty good going. But yeah, I'd only taken 1 of the 100-gram balls because I thought, come on, Gemmy, you're not going to get through 200-gram balls of DK with everything else you're doing this weekend. So as it happened, I ran out of yarn. And what I decided to do, and I've just put the bottom, as you can see, on these stitch holder cords. These ones I got in my advent calendar from For the Love of Knitting a couple of years ago. And I've taken the rest of the yarn and I've wound off 54 grams because the hank weighed, or the cake weighed 108 grams. I've wound off 54 grams of it, and I've attached it to 1 sleeve, and I've started the sleeve. Reason being, I'm going to finish both sleeves down to the cuffs, and then whatever I've got left, I'm going to reattach and do the body hopefully down to the rib. I don't think I've got too much more to go. I think it's got to be 6.5 inches from the underarm. Let me just grab a tape measure. I am so organised. I made myself a little notions pouch and everything to take away with me. I don't even know who I am at this point. But here we are. Oh, according to this, I'm actually at 6 inches, or just shy of 6 inches. No, 6 inches from the underarm. So I've got only another 1/2 inch from the underarm to go. That looks like a very short body to me. But anyway, my thought is, according to the pattern, and again, I haven't swatched, I will need just over the 2 balls of this yarn that I have to complete this sweater. And I've been thinking about how I want it to look, and I think what I'm happy to is have a contrast cuff and hem. I'm thinking a bright red, to be honest with you, and I didn't want that at the neck because I felt like that would just be too harsh against my son's skin and face and hair. He is quite, well, he's not actually pale, he's getting a nice bit of colour on him, but because he spends a lot of time outdoors, but he's quite fair, he's got blue eyes, really, really blonde hair, and I just think this red line across his neck, I don't think it will look very nice. I think it will make the whole thing look quite blocky. So I cast on, as you can see, in the rainbow Unicorn Funfetti, and I've stopped here. I'm going to knit one sleeve down to the cuff, down to the cuff with this one. I'm going to knit the other sleeve down to the cuff with the other one, and whatever I've got left will finish the body, and then I'll make a decision as to whether I'm going to finish the cuffs or whether I'm going to just say, do you know what, let's cut our losses and do contrast cuffs and hems. So that's where we're going with that. I actually wanted to follow up on my discussion about knitting apps. I haven't had any more suggestions for other apps I should try yet coming through in the comments from last time. But that's okay, it's early days. But there's been some more conversation about the Tin Can Knits app. I am so thrilled. Thank you so much for letting me know that I can actually link my Ravelry patterns. Great, love it. Sadly, nothing that can be done about my paper patterns, I don't think, because some I bought paper copies of from the Dispensary, and I'm going to have a look at them and see if they include a Ravelry download code, because if they do, then Bob's your uncle, sorted. However, I was saying I hadn't found a way of showing that I'd finished each instruction or each row on the app, and actually it turns out you can, and it does automatically. My mistake is that I'd been scrolling through the instructions rather than hitting the down arrow. So when you look at the screen, and if I can get a picture of this up, I will, we'll see. But when you look at the screen at the very bottom, it's got a kind of lozenge type shape in a kind of goldy colour. And if you press it, it's a down arrow. And what's really interesting is when you do the yoke increases, and again, I only realised this after I'd finished the yoke increases, when you do the yoke increases, you have to do them for the size I'm doing, 2 to 4, 12 times. And so I hit down and it went 1, down, 2, down, 3, down, and it actually highlighted the instruction that I was meant to be doing over and over again until I'd finished it. And I was, oh, brilliant, there you go, simple as that. I don't have to manually mark anything. I just have to stop scrolling and press the down arrow. So I am 100% loving this app at the moment. I love the fact that it pulls out just the size I want, so I don't have to find my stitch count each time. And I love the fact that it does actually keep track of where I am. It made coach knitting much, much easier. So there we are. The age 2 to 4 Flax DK in Rainbow Unicorn Funfetti. All right, so while I was away, I finished 2 pairs of socks. I've also finished another pair of socks just this evening, but I'm not going to talk about any of those. I'm saving those for my summer sock camp videos. And it's just as well, because otherwise we'd be here forever, because I have 2 more whips to talk to you about. One of which is a sock, but bear with me, there's a reason. At the point I just paused to get my project out of my bag, a bus went past, some dog walkers who are quite giggly went past, and everything's just happened outside the window, so that was really good timing. So at Yarningham, where I was at the weekend, Yarningham Yarn Festival in Birmingham, I was helping Mina Phillip, who is the Knitting Expat. She is a really prolific knitwear designer. She's very well known for her socks, and garments are stunning. She does kids patterns as well, having 2 small humans. So she's a really fantastic all-rounder, loves shawls, loves accessories, loves garments, anything you can think of really she seems to have. Actually, I was looking on Ravelry for a customer at the weekend, and there were 190 patterns in her designer library, so there we are. Now obviously, being a booth buddy at Mina's stall, I wanted to be knitting at the weekend. It was really important that I knit one of Mina's patterns, that I represent the person I'm representing. So I wound up, before I left, 3 cakes of yarn. I had a gold, an undyed, and this teal. Now the gold and the teal, full disclosure, were actually dyed some years ago. This was Song of the Sea that I pinched from my own stall to cast on. What was I casting on for? It was a cardigan by Anna Nikipirowicz, a beautiful cable cardigan that I had in Knitwear magazine, and I started the pattern. I really loved it, but I just ground to a halt with it and didn't do any more, so I liberated that. This was the simple cable vest that I was designing for my son, but I was doing the 0 to 6 month size, and he is now 20 months, or you know, just over 2.5. So needless to say, grown out of that, so I liberated that. So the actual quality of the garter stitch here is a little bit funky and crinkly because I haven't reset the yarn. I've just literally wound it off into a ball and carrot and started knitting from it. And the other one is undyed. Now, Snowday Shawl was designed by Mina when she was nearly 9 months pregnant, sat in New York. It was snowing really heavily. They were waiting for their furniture to arrive from Bahrain, and all they had was this IKEA Poang chair in the living room, and Mina was sat in their apartment, very pregnant, not really able to go anywhere because of the snow, and just spent the whole day knitting on this shawl, her Snowday shawl. So it's a really beautiful memory attached to this design. I've seen it before. We actually stocked the pattern at the shop I ran, and it was very popular. She's knit, it's designed in sport weight. It takes 50 grams of 3 colours of sport weight, but as with so many of her patterns, it actually gives you instructions for how to do it in different yarn weights. So it gives a percentage value as well as a stitch count. So I dyed kits in Afternoons and Song of the Sea for Mina's stand. We actually have 2 left, I think, of the yarn packs. So while they won't be exactly identical to these colours, they're near as damn it. They're really close. But obviously I'm a hand dyer and I dyed them a couple of years apart, but it's the same recipe and you get the idea of how it's going to look. I'll put a picture of the original shawl and the colour scheme up for you now so you can see it. So this was my cast on, and I cast it on when we got to the hotel. And I went a little bit wrong, as you can see. Told you, trials and tribulations. I kind of knit a bump into it, and what happened is I was increasing on the wrong side. I should be knitting 2 together, and instead I decided to knit front and back for 2 or 3 times. So I've actually got a little bump in my Snowday shawl. But Mina and my friend Lee, who stayed with us and was helping out too, spent ages telling me to just forget about it. One of the beautiful things about hand knitting is that things go a bit crooked sometimes, a bit wonky. There's a dodgy stitch, there's a change in tension, there's all manner of things that make it handmade and unique and beautiful. And my little bump is one of those things. And the bump happened because I was watching the tennis. Yeah, I was watching Wimbledon. There we go. I did have to undo it a couple of times because I actually went and made a complete zigzag shawl. I'd completely reversed it, not once but twice. I did frog it once, but when I noticed my little bump here, they both said just ignore it, it's a memory of the weekend. And so I was knitting on this, and this is a kind of fisherman's ribbed style. It's knit one below, but they're offset against each other, which gives this kind of effect with the 2 colours, almost of being houndstooth or check, but it's deceptively simple. The first couple of rows look a bit dodgy when you first start it, and there was a lot of me going, am I doing this wrong? I'm not doing it right, my knitting's not good enough, there's something wrong here, but I'm doing what the pattern says, and I trust the pattern, and I trust Mina, and I've seen the shawl a million times. And Mina said, it will look naff to start with, just keep going with it. She didn't say naff, she didn't use words like naff, but anyway, you get the idea. So I trusted the process, and I fully trust Mina. It was me trusting my own knitting skills, which, considering I've been knitting for 32 years, I should have a bit more faith in myself by now, but there we are. And sure enough, here it is. I'd really wanted to get the 3rd colour joined in, but yeah, I knit a lot of this on day 1 at Yarningham. Day 2 at Yarningham, I didn't actually get much knitting done. There was an awful lot of talking. Oh no, I had another whip as well. So this is the Snowday Shawl. Now, as I said, it's designed for 3 50-gram hanks of yarn, and I'm using 100-gram hanks of yarn. And what you can do is you can either follow it exactly to pattern, which means I will have approximately half of the yarn left over and I could do a second shawl if I wished. Or if I had weighing scales with me, what I could have done is on a percentage. So I could have weighed it, because it said, oh, you've used about 30% of your yarn. So I would have gone, right, okay, I've got 70, I carried on until I've got 70 grams left. And then it would have been bigger still. So because it's DK rather than sport weight, it will be slightly bigger than the original sample. But there would have been the option, if I had weighing scales with me, which surprise, surprise, I didn't because I was at Yarn Festival, to make it even bigger and use up the full skein. Because one of the things that Mina dislikes as a designer and tries to avoid is when patterns say you need 5 hanks of yarn, but you end up only using 20 grams of one of them. It's a phenomenal waste. So yeah, it's about using up as much as possible. However, not having scales, I'm doing this to pattern, so I will have about 50 grams of each one left over, and I'm very tempted to make another one, to be honest with you, and possibly invert the colours. We'll see. But I really, really like it and highly, highly recommend this pattern. There are 2 kits remaining. If you did want them, let me know, and we'll see what we can do. Hello, just had to have a short pause there. I said I wasn't going to talk about socks apart from one, and this is the one. Here we are. Oh, look at it in this light. Evening light for the win. You can really see the texture there, can't you? There we go. Let's try and make it focus on that rather than me. It's not going to. Let's try again. See what I can do. There we are. These are called the Driftwood socks, and they are from, and if I'm wrong I'll correct myself on screen, but they're from her Beyond Vanilla pattern collection. So they are aimed at people who've started knitting socks, have knit 1 or 2 vanilla socks, are ready for the next challenge, but just want a little bit, you know, something a little bit easy to just dip their toe in, as it were. See what I did there? Just dip their toe into something that's a little bit beyond vanilla. Vanilla meaning completely plain stocking stitch sock. So the pattern is meant to be just on one side of the sock. However, I liked it so much and I enjoyed it so much, I've done it all the way around. So I was rubbish as knitter, being a knitter, for knitting a sample for the stall. However, when it came to actually being a customer, knitting the pattern, enjoying the stitch repeat, I loved it. So Mina's motto is that knitting should be simple and fun. You should enjoy the process as much as you enjoy the finished piece. And when I looked at this pattern and first read it, I thought, oh my goodness, when I looked at the picture, I thought, how do you do this? This sounds so difficult. But it is so simple. It's just marvellous. I'm not going to give it away because it's a paid for pattern, that you can buy it as a bundle on Ravelry. I believe the bundles of 4 patterns are £10 each. We can bundle them together, and yeah, there are 8 different stitch patterns for you to try for Beyond Vanilla, and they all have fantastic explanations, and there's a couple of tutorials chucked in, links to tutorials on her YouTube channel for the tricky bits. I mean, generally speaking, that's the case. I'm not sure about this pattern, but I'm just going to put it out there that there might be. So there we are. I'm knitting this in Soxier 4-ply from Coop Knits, and I bought this from the Yarn Dispensary a couple of years ago. It's this lovely kind of, I don't know what colour I'd describe that as. It's not raspberry, it's a bit more rough and ready than that. It's not burgundy, it's somewhere between the two, and I just love it. So because I've only got 50 grams of this yarn, I'm actually just going to do a pair of socks for me in it, and I've almost finished the leg. I don't like a very long leg, I like my legs quite short. So yeah, nearly finished that. That's very exciting. Okay, so yeah, there's a couple of new patterns out that I really, really love. One is the GreenFinch, I think it's called GreenFinch sweater, and that's by Bronagh Knits, Bronagh Miskelly. It's in this month's The Knitter magazine, and it uses West Yorkshire spinners, so it uses a plain colour and a self-striping, and the yoke is just really, really stunning. The other one that has come out recently that I absolutely adore is by Anna Nikipirowicz, a good friend of mine, crochet designer, and it's called Lisbon Tiles, and it is stunning. So she's used this doing Sirdar Country Classic worsted in milk, and she's used Sirdar dual spun Aran, which is 500 meters to 200 grams. It's 3 of those, and it's made this beautiful kind of patchwork style blanket, which I absolutely love. It's exactly the sort of thing I wanted to make for my bedroom, but I hadn't found the pattern I wanted yet. I knew kind of what I wanted in my head, but I didn't know exactly what it was, and also I couldn't have designed it to save my life. So when Anna released this, I was like, she's released my blanket. It's the blanket I've been looking for. How wonderful is that? So I'm just so excited. And I was looking at it all weekend because, well, not all weekend, all day Saturday, because she had a stall next to us in the designer showcase, on the designer showcase floor. And her new blanket was there, and I was looking at it and looking at it, and I said to her, Anna, could I just do this in a chunky? And she said, yes, absolutely you could. It would just be bigger, obviously. I was like, oh, okay. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet this in the James C. Brett Marble Chunky. I know I'd found a pattern for it that I wanted to do as a jumper, but there was just something holding me back still about using it for a garment. And I really want this blanket. I don't have anything suitable in my stash other than this. I will need to get the chunky joining colour, but I can start off by making the kind of circles. I think they're circles within hexoctagons. Yeah, circles within octagons, and I can also make the kind of diamond shapes as well, as you can see here. Make those first, and then I can do the joining colour and join as I go. So that's an acquisition, and I wanted to buy it from Anna, but she very, very sweetly gave me a copy, so thank you, Anna. Anna incidentally also has a new book coming out, which is fantastic. I was very, very excited to get my hands on an advance copy when I was at the Search Press sales conference last weekend, or the weekend before now, and highly recommend that. It's for crochet and knitting, so for mosaic crochet and mosaic knitting, and for each motif she uses and each project she does, she shows the knitting version and the crochet version all the way through the book, and it is fantastic value, so I do recommend you look out for that one. It is available in August. So talking about acquisitions and yarning them, because that is an acquisition, I also want to have a quick thank you to Mina, who sent me away with copies of a lot of her patterns. I'm very excited to have several paper copies. I'm not going to go through all the ones that she gave me because there are quite a few, but I did just want to draw attention to the whale song cowl here. This is actually faux brioche. It is fisherman's rib, but it gives that look with 2 colours of being in brioche, and it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love it, the colours, and I'll show you the yarn that I dyed to go with it, because this was another kit I had at Yarning. There you go. Oh, and in this evening light, it's just capturing it beautifully. It's a lovely russety orange and an undyed, and this is Blue Faced Leicester Superwash DK. That a base that I got from my friend Marcus, Fiberpunk. I have 2 kits left. I have stolen the kit for myself. I really want to make this, and I very rarely dye my own yarn. And actually, look at my new ball bands. They've come out really well, haven't they? I got these printed by, so it's the graphic designed for me by Sorella Designs when I did my rebrand a couple of years ago, and it's printed by The Art Side in Plymouth in Devon. they were fantastic. They're a family run business. They've been going for donkey's years. Their teenager works in the shop and he's a lovely lad as well. Very knowledgeable, friendly staff. And Gary, who I believe is the owner, was very patient and very supportive of me when I was trying to explain what I wanted and that I needed them in double quick time. And he was amazing. They arrived, I think they started printing them on the, let me see, I went to see them on the 1st of July and I had them by the 10th of July. I can't remember, but I had them very, very quickly. They arrived when I was driving up to Kent on the Thursday the 4th. So yeah, there you go. It was very, very fast. So yeah, so that's that. And that's the pattern by Knitting Expat. And and if you fancied one of those, you can still get hold of them. Just drop me a message or drop me an email. We'll try and get you sorted with that. So yeah, yarning them was amazing. I was so good to see people that I haven't seen in ages. I bumped into Susie from Folkestone Harbour Yarns. It's always a joy to see her. Her stand was bonkers. It was so beautiful. She'd fashioned a kind of beach hut / ice cream stall, because obviously Folkestone Harbour Yarns. She had candy floss, which was fibre bats, and she had ice cream cones with yarn as the ice cream balls, and it was just amazing. You're never ever going to forget it. Fabulous yarns and kits as always. And it was really lovely to see Eva, who's the director of the Scottish Yarn Festival, and actually touch her yarn in real life. She's released their own yarn brand and it is beautiful. I had it next to me as well on the Saturday because Anna Nikipirowicz and Eva have collaborated, and Anna had done a beautiful shawl, mosaic crochet shawl in 2 of the colours. So it was great to see Eva again. It's been years, and to actually feel the yarn in real life, so beautiful. I cannot even begin to describe it. And it's a lovely palette of colours as well. They're kind of heathery and rustic and warm and deep and everything you want in a great fibre. And obviously Katie, Celia McWheely, and for the purposes of the weekend, Mama Seal. That was the only identity she needed. And Blue Dot Yarns, and obviously Ellen, Calico Ellen as well. It was so good to see them again. It was a wonderful reunion. I love yarn shows for that, and for seeing people that you normally only talk to online. There were some new folk to me though, one of which I was going to call her Long Dog Stitch, but she's not. She's Tiny Dog Stitches, or I keep... Oh look, here's a business card. Little Stitch Dog. There we go. Craft accessories and pourfuls of colour from the Little Stitch Dog. There's her card. It's not going to focus. And I bought 2 things from her. One of them was a bundle of, and she was doing these as 10 for £4, handmade tags. So they say handmade on them. With little bunny rabbits, because as I think I told you, there's a yellow one, the baby bus has come to town, grey, and there are lots, and they've got a couple of made with loves as well, for bigger people in my life. Lots of babies being born at the moment, and I'm making baby things, and I just thought these little tags would be the perfect finishing touches. So I've got 20 of those, and they were an absolute bargain. There we go. And they're available online as well. And she's got different designs as well. I just went with the bunnies because that's what I wanted. Oh, and the second acquisition I got from her was a kit for felt dinosaurs. It cost £6, so it was really quite cheap, all things considered. And you can make 4 dinosaurs. So you can make a Stegosaurus, another kind of look of Stegosaurus, a Diplodocus, and a T-Rex. So I'll be making those with Robin because he's started really getting into his stitches lately. And I will show you some of that in my cross stitch update video, which will be coming soon, I promise. It's just been a crazy couple of weeks. The other thing I'm going to be doing, the only other thing I purchased from Yarningham were 2 4-ply minis. At least I hope they're 4-ply. Hope so. From, oh, they look actually suspiciously like DK. I think I've bought the wrong weight yarn. Well, I told you I share the bits that go wrong, and feeling this now, this really does feel like DK rather than 4-ply. And looking at my, I think they're DK. I'll have to do a wraps per inch test and see. But I bought these 2 really beautiful kind of spice colourways from Madrigal Yarns. I adore Madrigal Yarns. I've got a few of his bits in stash. But these minis are for the Lead Light Mitts by Nomad Stitches. They are waistcoat stitching crochet, which I've never attempted before, but they're actually going to be for a thank you gift to my son's key worker at preschool, because she's moving up into the next room with most of the children, but Robin's already in the room a year ahead of where he should be, and so he's going to stay there for the next year. So he's going to have a new key worker. And we just wanted to say thank you to her for just helping Robin settle in so well. She's fantastic, and she does yoga and all sorts of things. And the reason I've gone specifically for this pattern, even though it's something I've never done before, is because his key worker has is Mexican and has moved from Mexico, and I wanted to do something that would kind of honour her heritage. So I researched Mexican knitwear designers, and Nomad Stitches came up on a featured designer blog. There is a crow making so much noise out there, you wouldn't believe. Anyway, ignore the crow. Yeah, so Robin's key worker at preschool is Mexican, and I googled Mexican knitwear designers and Nomad Stitches came up, and obviously she specialises in crochet. And actually what's really interesting is she did many of the patterns in the colourful crochet knitwear book, which I loved, and we had a few samples made up of when I worked at the yarn dispensary. So I wanted to be something little and practical, and so that's why I went for the mitts, and it is my hope that between now and Friday I will get them done. However, I think I've bought DK weight minis and I needed 4-ply. So I'm now feeling a little bit flat, to be honest with you, and they're beautiful, and maybe I can use one of them for contrast, heels and toes in a DK sock, or for cuffs and ribbing for a sweater for Robin, but wouldn't they have been beautiful? Yeah, so hopefully I've shown you the picture as well of the lead light mittens anyway. In other news, I've finished 3 more pairs of socks. I feel like murdering that crow. Can you hear what they call the murder of crows, can't you? Goodness me. I hadn't realised how noisy they were until I'd started trying to record with the window open. I thought really it was the seagulls, but actually the crows are incredibly loud. The owls are really loud around here as well. They kind of swoop past at night. It's the most magical sound to hear them hooting and twit-wooing, but there we are. So the crows are telling me to be quiet. They want to go to bed. The sun is setting. I have a video call with a very good friend of mine to go and enjoy, and you've given me quite enough of your time for one evening. I hope you are well, and I will see you very, very soon for another chat. Take care. Bye.